Have you noticed it? Someone who used to text you every morning suddenly feels like a stranger. A conversation that once lasted for hours now ends after a few minutes. You sit across from someone you've known for years and realize you're no longer talking about the same things. You're no longer interested in the same dreams. You're no longer worried about the same fears. At first, you may have blamed yourself. Maybe you're changing too much. Maybe you're becoming distant. Maybe you're pulling away. But what if none of that is true? What if the distance exists because your life is moving in a direction that some people were never meant to follow? What if some people were only meant to accompany a previous version of you? And here's the painful part. Some of those people may still be standing beside you. You still see them. You still talk to them. You still care about them. Yet emotionally, they already belong to your past. And that realization hurts more than most Aquarius are willing to admit. Because nobody talks about this part of growth. Nobody talks about the sadness of outgrowing a life that once felt like home. Nobody talks about how lonely it can feel when your soul starts walking ahead before the rest of your world catches up. And yet, something remarkable is happening beneath that uncertainty. Last year you would have replayed certain conversations for days. You would have searched for hidden meanings. You would have needed answers. Now something is different. You are becoming comfortable with not knowing. You are becoming comfortable with silence. You are becoming comfortable with letting people reveal who they are without trying to change them. And perhaps the biggest sign of all, you have started trusting yourself in ways you never noticed before. Months ago, you would have asked 5 different people what to do. You would have searched for advice. You would have needed reassurance. Now you sit quietly. You listen to your intuition. And somehow, you already know the answer. That quiet voice inside you has become stronger. Not louder. Stronger. But here's what most Aquarius are completely missing. The truth is, this was never about the people who left. It was never about the plans that failed. It was never about the opportunities that disappeared. Those were only symptoms. The real story has always been about you, because the version of you that needed those people. Needed those plans. Needed those outcomes. Is disappearing. And for a while that feels terrifying. Because every ending looks like a loss before it reveals itself as freedom. Yet something even bigger is happening. For months, all of this has been taking place inside you. Quietly. Privately. Invisible to almost everyone around you. But what makes this month different is that the change is no longer happening only inside you. For the first time, the outside world is about to respond. The signs are already appearing. A message you weren't expecting. A name that suddenly reappears. An opportunity that arrives from nowhere. A conversation that changes how you see your future. Small moments. At least that's how they seem at first. But Aquarius, these are not random moments. These are signals, pieces of a larger picture moving into place. And what arrives next may be the very thing that changes everything. And what arrives next may be the very thing that changes everything, but not for the reason you think. Because the biggest change heading toward you is not a person, not a job, not an opportunity. Not even a relationship. The biggest change is what happens the moment you stop waiting for your old life to return. Read that again. Because this is what most Aquarius are completely missing. You keep thinking something is about to bring back the feeling you used to have. The excitement. The certainty. The connection. The version of yourself that once felt so familiar. But the truth is, that version of you is not coming back. And for a moment, that realization can feel heartbreaking. Because part of you has been waiting for things to make sense again. Waiting for someone to return. Waiting for life to feel the way it used to. But what if life isn't trying to take you backward? What if life has been trying to move you forward this entire time? Suddenly, everything looks different. The unanswered message, the canceled plan. The person who slowly disappeared, the opportunity that never happened. The door that closed when you were sure it should have opened. Looking back now, you can see something you couldn't see before. Not everything that left your life was meant to stay. And not everything that failed was meant to succeed, because some endings were not punishments. They were directions. And here's where things become interesting. Someone is still seeing the old version of you. They still expect the same reactions. The same availability. The same sacrifices. The same willingness to put yourself last, the same person they always knew. And they don't understand why you're changing, why you don't explain yourself as much, why you don't argue as much, why you don't chase as much, why you don't beg for understanding anymore. But neither did you. Until now. 3 months ago you would have sent one more message. One more explanation. One more apology. One more attempt to fix what wasn't yours to fix. Now you put the phone down. And choose your peace. That may sound like a small thing, but it changes everything. Because the person who constantly needed closure is disappearing. The person who constantly needed validation is fading. The person who constantly needed everyone to understand them is slowly stepping aside, and someone stronger is taking their place. But here's the real revelation. The truth is. None of this was ever about healing. It was never about becoming a better person. It was never about fixing yourself, because you were never broken. The real lesson was learning who you are when you stop performing for everyone else. Who are you when nobody is watching? Who are you when nobody is approving? Who are you when nobody is telling you what to do? That is the question life has been asking. And finally. You are beginning to answer it. There was a night when you stared at the ceiling wondering if anything would ever change. There was a week when you stopped talking about your plans because you were tired of explaining them. There was a moment when you almost gave up on something that mattered deeply to you. Nobody saw those moments, nobody applauded those moments, but those moments changed you. Those moments built the person speaking silently inside you right now. And that voice is becoming impossible to ignore, because what makes this month different is that the outside world is finally beginning to respond. A conversation arrives, a coincidence feels too precise to ignore, a door opens where there was previously nothing. A name appears in your mind for no obvious reason. A possibility keeps returning no matter how many times you dismiss it. These are not random events, these are signals. In Aquarius, there is something else approaching, something you have not fully seen yet, something connected to a decision. A decision that may look small when it arrives, but months from now, you may realize that everything changed because of that single moment. And that is why the next chapter matters more than you think.